My country people, the hit don't they on Tinubu. In fact, young people don't they against them, party don't they against them. Different things don't they happen. To the extent the would way they happen, the spokesman can't come out, when they talk, say the money of the fuel subsidy, what they buy for it not go pass that one again. But the Fed talk say they don't know how come about the price. Right now, why then they change man? They talk say it not go pass that amount 7 something again. My people, it's like they are not telling us what is happening here. Now this one I can lead to waiting one of those videos why they play for the background. And this man can come and can talk say, see, this subsidy where they say they come out. It say in fact they are bringing this first subsidy back again. He say because they don't see and say the whole thing not work, they're not ready. My people, the thing not end there. See, people they come out from different corner. They talk say Tinubu want suffocate them. These are politicians. These are top people coming out to say one or two things. Now their Labour Party on still there. Now their Obasanjo still there. Everybody you're getting your wala. Now I pack the whole wala. Come on, I can't watch the whole wala, my people. In fact, in this government, not be only one person head. Now person go carry the thing. Don't decide to make poor people not go breathe. Person way to make him mama not sleep. Make the pikin still not say himself not go see sleep. My people, this one a Bod TV, but we will analyze all the trends where they happen. I be mona not forget mona watch this video to the end. Mona like, mona share, mona subscribe. I will see you again. Bye bye.
The government is telling Nigerians that there shall be no more increase in the petrol price. Take a listen to the spokesperson of the president, Ajuri Ngelale, earlier today.
Recently, from the organized labor movement in the country, with respect to their most recent threat. We believe that the threat was premature and that there is a need on all sides to ensure that fact-finding and diligence is done on what the current state of the downstream and midstream petroleum industry is before any threats or conclusions are arrived at or issued. Secondly, Mr. President wishes to assure Nigerians, following the announcement by the NNPC Limited just yesterday, that there will be no increase in the pump price of petroleum motor spirit anywhere in the country.
So this means a lot, isn't it? Because that statement means one thing. If you say that the market forces will be determining the price, and when government and NNPCL saying that at some point that our hands are off the table, we cannot control the price, but now the government and the NNPCL says there shall be no more increase in the pump price of petrol. What does this mean? Let's get an expert to give us insight into this. Mr. Johnson Chukwu is the founder of Carrier Asset Management Company and economist, joins us live from New York. And I'll start from that before I go to the issue of the inflation rate. Now, the statement coming from the spokesperson of the president that there will be no increase in petrol. Does this mean that subsidy is coming back through the back door?
Exactly. That's exactly what it means. It simply means that as it stands today, the market forces that we are supposed to be determining the price of petrol has been suspended. And it's also the more one aspect of it that the pains we've gone through to eliminate subsidy has actually been for nothing if we are suspending those factors. I think what the government should have done is to address the reason why we are seeing such jump in petrol price, which is basically the issue of exchange rate. You cannot allow two variables to move at the same time. The appropriate thing would have been if we had government had been able to have a hang on the exchange rate, then we would have been dealing with market movement, global market changes in the price of petroleum products, that's crude and refined petroleum product, Platt. And then we would have been dealing with marginal increments and marginal decreases in the price of petroleum products. But what has happened now is that because exchange rate has moved from about 400 or something when the exchange rate was harmonized to almost 1,000 naira, we've seen such increase in the landing price cost of fuel that even at the pump price today, it no longer covers the price of importing fuel. So what that means is that the government has reintroduced subsidy, and then the pain we have gone to move the price of fuel from about 200 naira to more than 600 naira has been for nothing. And that, for me, is a great of great concern.
Would you call it policy somersault or government hypocrisy? How would you describe it?
Well, what else can you call it? It's more. I think policy somersault is more apt. But the key thing, like I said, that the decision to deregulate the downstream sector and the decision to harmonize the exchange, it was not properly thought through. And the fact is that, and I've said it at different fora, the government should have prepared very well to ensure that when they harmonize the exchange rate, we achieve some level of exchange rate stability and not the drastic depreciation we've seen in the past couple of weeks. And that's why, like I also said in those fora, that once you begin to see a depreciation in the local currency, you're going to see landing cost of imported fuel at a price that will compel pump price to continue to be adjusted upwards. And that's what we saw. But now, the government saying that they will no longer allow prices to increase simply means if Platt increases beyond the current level, the government has absorbed the difference. If exchange rate depreciates further, the government has absorbed the difference. In effect, the government has reintroduced subsidy. So if you have moved subsidy away and Nigerians have taken this pain over the past couple of weeks and they are reintroducing subsidy, then it simply means the pain we've gone through has been for nothing.
Now, so a lot of things have happened, and correct me if I'm wrong, you are the expert here. I see a lot of speculation and a lot of panic in the market, which has affected Forex. It has affected consumption. It has affected pricing of commodities in the market. Government is struggling and battling to control these forces. Government wanted to control things. It manually wanted to re-enter into the market. Things are boomeranging every day, and it looks like a bull in the China shop. Is that the situation we find ourselves? How do we calm the situation? No cabinet yet. We have the minister designate, but they have not been officially inaugurated. If you were President Tinubu, with a situation that looks like our economy is in jitter and is dancing hip-hop in the fastest mode that it can, where do we go from here, Mr. Chukwu?
Well, we start by addressing the mistakes we made. The first mistake was that, like I said earlier, the decision to announce the removal of subsidy and as the decision to harmonize the exchange was done without thinking through it. A couple of things needed to have been done. Let's start from the issue of removing the subsidy. The previous government had planned to take out the subsidy, and we are mitigating measures that we are supposed to put in place before the subsidy was removed. One of which that the government had planned to bring in 1,000 buses, about 20 per state capital, to distribute in all the 6 states of the country and Abuja to reduce the cost of transportation impact of subsidy removal. The government had a plan to introduce the issue of CNG powered vehicles. Some of these measures should have preceded the subsidy removal. Now, the current government has come up with, they're going to bring in 3,000 CNG-driven buses. But if you take time to manufacture those buses when you place the order, so I don't see any of those buses coming here earlier than 9 months to 1 year. At that point, the damage on the economy would have taken place, would have already happened. So that's as it relates to the subsidy removal. Measures should have been taken before the subsidy was removed. As harmonizing the exchange rate, the first thing that the government should have done was take stock of the arrears of unmet demand. Matured letters of credit had not been negotiated, payments due to the airlines had not been paid. Then payments due to or bids for Forex by foreign portfolio investors that sold their Nigerian instrument that wanted to exit. They would have taken stock of that and arrived at maybe is it $10 billion, is it $20 billion? And then provision would have been made that at the point when you harmonize the exchange rate and harmonize the higher rate, you would have provided to take care of those arrears of unmet demand. That would have calmed the market, because what would have happened was the market would have had a feeler the government or the central bank had the capacity to meet obligations that they fall due. The problem was that when the exchange was harmonized and those who had arrears of unmet demand had to lock in exchange losses, as you have seen many companies report huge exchange losses, still they were not able to access Forex to clear those arrears, and that said panic. That made them move into panic mode, because if you have lost about 40% of your naira value in dollar terms, and then you really can't still access that funding from the central bank to be able to meet that obligation, you will want to access Forex at any exchange rate. And then when this will move to the parallel market to exchange exchange rate, the demand in the parallel market outweighed the supply in the parallel market, and then we began to see the currency depreciate. So you have to retrace your steps and say what went wrong and what where did we get it wrong? And once we can do this articulation, we can now decide. The first thing we need to do is that the federal government or the central bank, of course, when you talk of the federal government and the central bank, I have to use them as if they are simultaneous, if they are similar or the same entity, because there's no way the central bank can access funding support without the federal government weight. So the first thing they need to do is that the federal government needs to assess funding support, what do you call it, balance sheet support or balance of payment support from maybe the International Monetary Fund or any of the bilateral reserve bank in the world that the government has very good relations with. Yeah. That we use to clear those areas and restore confidence in the market.
Mr. Chukwu, and this is where the likes of Mr. Wale Edun and Zacchaeus Adedeji, who are working closely with the president, will have to perform magic. All their certificates and their knowledge have to come to bear. I understand that these are fantastic human beings in their own right and they're professionals in their own right. They need to now bring this to bear because the government is trying to make some defense. I'd like you to listen to this, Mr. Chukwu. This is coming from Adams Oshiomhole, a former national chairman of the APC, a former Labour leader, a former governor of Edo State, a sitting senator, who has said that there is an inheritance of a bad economic situation in the country. I'd like you to comment on that. Take a listen to Senator Adams Oshiomhole.
The government inherited a terrible economic situation. Everybody knows it. The government inherited an economy in which our total national revenue was barely enough to service our debt burden, spending 96%, which is to say every 96 kobo, every 100 naira Nigeria earned, 96 kobo is going to repay debts, to service debts. So you have only 4 kobo left to pay all the salaries. So nothing can be worse. But they came determined that they will have to do business unusual to arrest the drift, stabilize the economy.
So, Mr. Chukwu, you hear Senator Oshiomhole speaking as this, and there are some revelations coming out of the CBN about the financial state of the Apex Bank. For 7 years, no financial report. And the things that are coming out of that Apex Bank are mind-boggling. The kind of things that should never be happening. And those who have described it as a firecracker that will engulf our economic situation. Just briefly, because I have one more question for you before we go. That bad situation that we find ourselves for President Tinubu, can he be looking at the past? Well, he needs to focus on the present and the future, isn't it?
Tim, if you recall, it's actually interesting that we're still talking about inheriting bad situation. We spent 8 years pillaging the previous government. The current party in power spent 8 years of our precious time pillaging the previous government and blaming everything and refusing to work to remedy the situation and made the bad situation worse. So, and current government is a continuation of the government of the same party, and none of them can actually exonerate themselves from whatever the current economic trajectory in Nigeria is in today. I think it beggars logic that at this point we still be talking of we inherited bad situation. The key thing is that when you apply for a job, I mean, the Nigeria's financial economic situation was well known. The current government, the current leadership of the current government was fully part of it. Mr. President, with all due respect, was the leader of the party for 8 years. Was actually instrumental. Actually, it was said that he restored the previous presidency. So I don't think we should, at this point, focus on that. Our priority should be how do we change the narrative as a people, because it affects all of us. But to go back and sit back and all we just do is blame previous government, I don't think we should buy into that. That's very distracting for me, and it's actually annoying that we should still be talking about that when we did that for 8 years and our situation did not change.
Finally, Mr. Chukwu, I just have about less than 60 seconds to go. But let me show you some of these images that we got from the presidency today, and that trying to paint a picture of the drastic situation that have been that are emerging from the consumption and the regulation process in the oil and gas sector. Take, for example, the images are showing that within the West African, the coastal region, it shows that Nigeria oil, gasoline or the petrol sell the lowest, about between 568 to 630, compared to areas that are Togo, 900, Ghana, 875 in Benin Republic, Niger, 716, 938 in Cameroon, and the rest. And if you look at it, what thing that actually bothers the mind is that the pre-deregulation period, we were talking about evacuation of about 67 million liters of the product. Now, from June, it went to 49 million. To July, it came down to 45, and in August, 44. There are those who will say to you, fantastic decisions the president has made, although with ill timing that has also orchestrated, has affected it. But the good thing is that they are in the early stages or early stage of these administration. But if they want to fix things and get things right, what would be that one thing that they need to do immediately? Don't forget, public perception and the fear factor is already in the market.
Okay, it's actually difficult to answer to say one specific thing that needs to be done. But let me step back to one of the things you said in terms of the pump price of fuel across West African countries. There's what they call purchasing power parity. So if you look at it in dollar terms, it doesn't really convey the whole message. You have to look at what percentage of an average household income is spent on transportation in Benin Republic, in Ghana, in Cotonou, and in Togo and all those countries. And you have to look at the weight of such in for Nigerian household. And then you look at the road network in all those countries. If you want to drive from Lagos to Badagry, it will take you like 6 hours. It's not the same as way in West Africa. But back to what is the one thing that the president has to do? He has to restore confidence in the local currency. They have to stabilize the exchange rate. To stabilize the exchange rate, we will be able to stabilize the pump price of petroleum product. We'll be able to fight inflation or moderate the current inflationary pressure. And we will be able to restore to some extent the purchasing power of average household income so that Nigerians can.
By former PDP National Vice Chairman, South-South, Emmanuel Ogidi, for a brief discussion on a series of meetings being held by the party and the efforts at rebuilding the PDP. We know the PDP has been having a series of meetings. We know that the party, even though the word crisis is not something that is a word that you all like to use, but there's definitely some tension and a little bit of confusion within the party. Now that the meetings have been held, can you give us just a brief glimpse at the reconciliation efforts or party rebuilding efforts that the PDP wants to come out with in the next couple of months?
Well, there's not about confusion here. Well, like in every home, there's a problem here and there. But because we are one of the oldest parties you can think of in Nigeria today, we have our internal mechanism to deal with issues like that. So we're on top of it. In fact, that's why we're getting ready for the election of November in our 3 states, Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa State. So we're good to go.
Now, I remember that we had you a couple of times before the general elections earlier this year, and you said to us a couple of times too that you had, your internal mechanisms for dealing with conflict and all that. But at the end of the day, we saw what played out. The G5 disagreed with the party, they worked against the party, the PDP lost. And of course, even in Edo State now, we can already see the conflict between the governor and his deputy. So what is the PDP doing going forward to win elections?
You see, you saw, like you said, you saw the G5, and what happened to them? Like I said before, there's always a personal interest in this thing, and they have exhibited themselves. Even those who say they had malaria, they don't want to join cancer. Unfortunately, they have gone to borrow cancer into their system. And this is unfortunate what is going on. if somebody can openly, brazenly open his eyes and go for cancer, then you can see that there's something wrong somewhere. We've been managing everybody. We know that APC is trying hard to push into our ranks. It's not easy. You know, when you're fighting against or with your brother, you have to be very careful the part of the body you hit. You have to hit only the part of the body that you can use the cloth to cover. Because if you make the mistake of blinding your brother, when you settle, they will say, oh, look at this man, his brother has one eye. So it's a very delicate situation, so we are managing it. And some of them are also working out of it for us, so you can see it.
Well, you know, in some families, luckily, they don't even fight. They don't get physical. They just keep things peaceful, and they're still able to move things through. Apparently, the PDP is fighting in places where you can cover up your scars, but we can see what's going on. The public can see exactly what is going on, and it's a little bit disturbing. There's a lot of talk about preserving democracy. We know what the temperature is like in West Africa with these streams of coups coming through. Nigeria seen as the big brother of democracy in the Western Front. It's important that there is some form of opposition, counterbalance to the party of the day, which is APC. There doesn't seem to be a strong counteracting party to check and balance the APC, which could be concerning for the democracy. But in terms of PDP, what are the goals for PDP in the next 4 years? We saw them being humbled. We saw your party being humbled in the National Assembly positions that were meted out, as well as the ministerial list. Could you share with us just a few tidbits of what the next 4 years action plan could be like?
No, when you say we're humbled, we are not really humbled. You see, if you recall, when Buhari was in power for 8 years, he accused the PDP of all their mistakes. This is not Tinubu, whose position we are contest today in court. If you remember the what do you call it? The INEC chairman said go to court. It's a very sad thing, and we're in the court. But you know, every Nigerians know that they regret the whole thing. Even those who voted for that, they're regretting it today. But however, I know that the courts will do the correct thing because they too are feeling the pinch. This is bad. This is bad. There's not you can't describe. This is very bad. As for going forward, like I said, we have our own internal machinery. We set up a campaign council for 3 states, and we are dealing with it quietly. Apart from Bayelsa that is now on the news, where there's a lot of killings and so on. It's very unfortunate. Recall when I was the zonal chairman, it happened. I was there that night, where the same place there was killing. And the young men came to us that we should arm them, they want to go and retaliate. We said, no, you cannot, we don't want to lose our own blood. Why should we retaliate? So this government, even though we know it's temporary, they should do whatever it takes to restore peace there. And if you want to win the election, go to the ballot and win it. You don't have to kill bystanders. People are just watching. What kind of government is this?
You talked about what's happening in your party being a delicate situation, and I'd like to probe that a little bit further. You know, we understand that some stakeholders within your party do not want the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, expelled, as it may lead to the exodus of some governors, present PDP governors, from the party. So does this mean that there will be no sanctions for anti-party activities?
Look, there will be sanctions, there will be punishment for every culprit when the matter is established. But right now, because we are informed that very soon the judges are going to give their judgment, to us it's a distraction. We need to be focused, our eyes need to be on the ball right now for what is going on. Yes, there's a group looking at it. They will advise us what next to do. But our main focus now is to win at the court. Because if you remember, High Court said go to court. So we're already in court. And by the grace of God, we want to win in the court. Then we can deal with every other issues.
But can I remind you that you've been in court a couple of times, and it did not actually favor the PDP. So what happens if that's also the case at this time?
We are praying that it will not go that route because this time it's very clear to everybody. And I'm very sure even you are praying that it goes our way. Because we're all in a big mess. We're completely in a deep, big mess. If nothing is done now, then we're going to have problems. So that's what's going on.
And speaking of the courts, we know that the judges they have reserved judgment on the case that your party has brought, of course, with Atiku Abubakar. Can you give us your opinion on how the tribunal has played out in the last couple of weeks? And, of course, you're now saying that you pray that there's a win, but is the PDP preparing for anything other than a win? Would that be a smart move on the PDP's part for a contingency plan?
We're hoping that the court will give us the verdict. But they say we should go back to the pool, we are ready. Whichever we are ready. We believe there are just two options. Either the court will declare us the winner or they say go back for a rerun. And we're ready for it.
Well, in the case that none of the options apply, how ready is the PDP to be a viable opposition to the ruling APC? For instance, a lot of Nigerians were surprised that none of the PDP senators opposed the nomination of Nyesom Wike or opposed the screening, of Nyesom Wike as a minister at the National Assembly. What more can you tell us about this? Is the PDP actually alive and well to its responsibility as an opposition party?
Somebody who said he had malaria, that he cannot go to APC because there is a cancer. And he's your brother. We are managing him in PDP. He says we're not good enough. So he jumped into it to go and get the cancer. So that's good riddance now. So what do you expect a member to say? Don't go? Since he wanted to be minister, then you have allowed him to go. But you cannot serve two masters. Either you serve one or you hate the other. So, it's not PDP's decision for him to go and represent us there. No, he's on his own. So if he's going on his own, do you want us to stop him?
Yes.
He doesn't have to play opposition. Opposition doesn't have to play opposition. We kept quiet, let him go. Then we're going to respond. He has not been sworn in yet. Why do you want us to respond now?
I think the reason some people would say that a response would be good is because, just like I said earlier, there's this perception that PDP has been completely humbled and ground to a halt. It would give the appearance of some sort of action or spice, of being in the game still. Right now, it seems like PDP, like there's a football game and you all are on the bench. And things are very critical right now. And it seems like the only focus is the tribunal, which is a long shot.
It used to be a long shot, but the event is going to begin now soon. So why do you want us to do something when the event is just around the corner? We're not humbled at all. I'll give you an example in Delta State. When we wanted to go into our election, this last election, some of the prominent or so-called prominent people left the party. We didn't know we were carrying overload. The moment they left, we got the victory. So I think this is also the case. We have a lot of bad eggs in PDP, and they're exiting. And you want us to stop them from going away? No. They're exiting. But I can tell you something. Nobody's indispensable in this world.
True. Well, Mr. Ogidi, I'm reading some comments online, and some people are accusing you actually of burying your head in the sand. I mean, if you say the PDP has not been humbled, they're wondering how Nyesom Wike and other members of the G5, Samuel Otom, Okeze, Ikpeazu, and others made their way into the Bayelsa campaign council list of the PDP. Isn't this reward for bad behavior?
No. You see, look, until you are found guilty, you are presumed that you're innocent. We will need to listen to whatever they're saying. But the moment they say we don't want to face the panel, then they've gone. We have not considered a panel yet. We have a big picture we're looking at. See, I can tell you something. They will be punished if they remain in PDP. But because we know who they are, they will run away before I get to that. So I'm not burying my head in sand. I'm looking, I'm up. I'm seeing victory.
All right.
What do you think they can do? Outside government? Nothing.
Of course, we're delighted to have you. So let's just begin with the basics. Based on what played out in this situation, what are your plans towards reconciliation within the party?
Well, ab initio, we have always been saying that the Labour Party constitution is very clear. You don't go into water if you don't know how to swim. Definitely you will drown. In this case, some of the people who have been raising this particular unwarranted attack on the chairman of the Labour Party were doing it out of ignorance because majority of them are not well abreast with the constitution of the party, which of course now that the court have already been able to establish it based on Article 13 and 17. Now, going forward, what the party intends to do is actually mobilize to kind of redefine the existence of the Labour Party by unifying, re-registering, and more or less unifying the party in such a way that there will be a large registered members of the party. And, don't forget, basically on almost in every show, I've always been saying that the Labour Party, under the leadership of Julius Abure, have also institutionalized a reconciliation committee to look at those who have always have issues within the party that they can easily align with this particular reconciliation committee. And that reconciliation committee has met with almost everybody who feels aggrieved so that we can move forward as a team. And the party is preparing for its national convention. And within that particular period, there will be a kind of registration and re-registration and affirmation of members within the party so that every chapter, every looks and cranny of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is being covered by the Labour Party. That way will give us a more unified house in order to fight the battle ahead of us.
All right, then. So let's talk about, the reaction of the Lamidi Apapa, let's say, faction of the party that is kicking against this particular confirmation or affirmation of the judgment. They said that the Benin court only, the statement signed by the spokesman of the LP faction, Abayomi Arabambi, says that he's insisting that the Abuja High Court's restraining order that recognized Apapa as the acting national chairman still remains intact. How would you react to this?
Well, probably he's not also aware that that particular case has also been taken to court, and then it has been kept in abeyance until there's judgment at the appeal court. And that appeal court will sit in no distant time. Let me make this clear. Right from the beginning, the accusation of either forgery or no forgery, which the Arabambi acclaimed group are standing on, they have no only local standing because they themselves don't even have a local standing even in taking the matter to court in the first place. So there is nothing like anything like, what would they call it, when you said that there was signature forgery, there's nothing like that because the forensic report that God knows where they say they got it from, we've been able to get the actual forensic report which has already nullified all of this particular accusation against Julius Abure and Malam Umar Farouk and all the other persons that have been mentioned. And from here on, it is very clear that the sources of those who have financed them in order to cause problem within the party will dry up very soon, because it is clear the party is a law-abiding political party. We are following the rules of laws one by one and gradually. You could see the way it's painstaking, the process in which we've taken to get to this particular level. And that is how that particular issue too will be dealt with accordingly. Because as we speak today, this appeal court on that matter is yet to sit. But we have also been able to do all that is necessary to ensure that Abure and the led National Working Committee have proved themselves not guilty beyond reasonable doubt. But let me also thank the obedient movement at this point, where the chairman has also thanked them that for standing firm with the leadership of the party, giving it the belief that, yes, these are the people who had midwife us from almost nothing to something. We've also said that under this particular leadership, we've had 8 senators. We have 38 or 34 member House of Representatives. We are having 65 members of State Assembly under the leadership of Julius Abure. That is where we are at the moment, and they are still counting. And so for any leaders who have been able to achieve this particular feat, should be given a lot of respect and probably gratitude for doing the yeoman's job. So those who feel that they are aggrieved, the political party is still open for them to come in. And of course, it's a disciplined political party. So they should come in and apologize for the mistakes that they've made, and then we would know how to deal with their issues according to the constitution of the party. But if they stay on the other side, remember, they only have Peter, Gregory Obi, and Deti Baba Amen to give gratitude to, because if this particular individual have not been into the party, I wonder where they will have been. I wonder where the party will have won, whether it would have been able to win all of these particular seats that I've just mentioned. So for us, it's moving forward. No retreat, no surrender. We keep on moving until we emancipate the Nigerian people from the shackle of poverty and getting Nigeria on the right path. We believe that a new Nigeria is possible under PO and Abure.
Duly noted, Dr. Tanko. Now, if I take an excerpt from the press release that was issued by your party, it did say that the outcome of this case has been a landmark judgment and will stand the test of time. I'm just wondering, in the event that a similar factional issue should arise in the near future or distant future, would you apply the same methods that were used to address this in such a case, should it ever reoccur? Definitely not, because we have learned a lesson from within and outside. We know now that this particular group of our brothers are being sponsored to cause problem within the party, and then they have failed in that particular regard. Those who institute this particular humongous attack on the Labour Party have also failed, because it has made us more stronger. We've learned, and we are going to take care of every individual in case there are issues of this nature, which of course we expect that will even rear his head, because at that time we will have been able to sift out those who know they are genuinely interested in building a political party that is interested in the masses-driven political party. Because hey, every one of us know that this country needs a purposeful political party that is clear and purposeful and has a direction. And that we believe that the Labour Party will present to the Nigerian people. And so we are going to continue in that particular regard to ensure that the Nigerian people have a particular political party they can rest their head and say they can go to sleep and feel that they are being secured. So for those of them who have fallen within the line, we pray to them that they will be able to learn their mistakes and then come in, and then we'll move together as a political party.
All right, then, Dr. Tanko, I'd like to, divert our attention to the reason why Mr. Abure was even suspended in the first place. Now, the alleged activities, what was put out there was that he was suspended indefinitely by the Edo Labour Party ward for various offences such as forgery and perjury. And of course, they said they forged withdrawal letters and sworn court affidavits. There was a lot of allegations that were supposed to be investigated by members of the party. So is this something that is still on the table? still trying to find out exactly why this, I'll say, brouhaha even started in the first place. Is there any investigation being done into the activities that he was accused for, which had led to his suspension in the first place?
Let me share knowledge with you. Right from the beginning, the purported suspension does not have a local standing. Based on the Article 13 and 17 of the party, it says clearly that if you are to suspend or investigate the national chairman, it is not within the purview of the local government. It is in the national level. When you raise a petition against any leading member of the party, then there will be investigation within the party itself at the national level. And it can only be actualized at the national convention purposefully called for that particular issue that have been raised. So in this case, if there have been petitions, which I have not seen any, nobody has written to the National Working Committee written message that so XO person have committed particular crime. If there is any document to that particular national committee, they should show me. I have not seen. So therefore, it is at that particular National Working Committee that they will deliberate on the matter. But they will just bring into like a horse into the public domain in order to create a problem. So they shot themselves in the foot because they took the wrong channel. And then somebody will come now tomorrow and say, yes, they're written. If you wrote to the National Working Committee, how many members have the particular copy of that particular petition? There was none. Because those that will have received that particular committee petition will have been the National Secretary of the party, which is Malon Umar Farouk, and then the other organizing secretary and all other members. And I don't think they had a copy. But here is in the reverse case. The same people who are accusing the chairman have so many petitions written against them. For example, Anselm, Arabambi, and all other people have a written document of petition written against them, which the National Committee has dealt with according to the provision of the Constitution. And they have found them wanting, and they have already been suspended. One of them already been expelled of the party, but others have been suspended. In fact, there is a committee already standing, waiting for these cases to be off. When the cases are up, this particular committee will now deal with the matter according to what has been provided. So if we have an issue within the party, it is left for the party now to look at it because we have internal mechanism to checkmate anybody. There is nobody in the party that is above the law. So if you have found one thing, you'll be dealt with within the provision of the law of the party. So the mistake that they did was that because they were not interested in building a party, they were interested in creating a commotion within the party. They created an issue and then they balkanized the office, come in and criminally entered into the office without the consent of the leadership of the party. In fact, if not because of it, they should have been arrested for actually bugging the office, stealing some document within the party, and then using it to institute a case which is not founded. So therefore, in this case, they have already been involved in a criminal activity against the party itself. If not for the steadfastness and the consistency of the leading members of the party, they would have gotten away with it. And that would have been a coup against democratic tenets, and which we do not accept. So invariably, all of the party members and leaders have come to agree that these particular individuals are not interested in the building of a political party. So, i.e., there is nothing like issue of forgery against Julius Abure. There's nothing like probably him conducting any unconstitutionality within the position of the law, which we have been able to prove within this particular appeal, and we will prove it in the next appeal court that will come in probably in no distant time.
Let me begin unreserved apology to you all on the altar, and particularly for our friend who brought because while you were giving the sermon, rudely I would say, I came in with the governor, with the immediate past governor, and with the governor of Anambra. We should not do that. But I will put it this way, you are guilty with explanation. From Lagos. Yeah, that. I planned, and the governor was kind enough to provide an aircraft. I planned to at 7 a.m. And I thought we would be in Uyo not later than 8 a.m. And I thought I would be able to join the governor not later than 9 a.m. And I was sure that, well, I will even have tea with the governor, if not breakfast. And come to the church not later than 10 o'clock. I left Abeokuta by 5 a.m. I got to Lagos in time. The plane was not immediately ready. When the plane was ready, who were private jets, said, "What are we doing here?" He said, "They want to find out the weather condition in Uyo." And after about 10 minutes, he came back and said, "The weather condition in Uyo is good enough for her to travel and to take the aircraft." So I had two problems. The captain was a lady. So there's limit to how much I can pull my rank as a general on the captain. Two, as the captain, I'm piloting the aircraft. The last say. I look at Governor Peter Obi. I said, "What to do?" He said, "We have to obey her." He said she will come back in 30 minutes. 30 minutes, she came back. He said the weather is too bad. Then Governor Peter Obi phoned somebody, I don't know who he phoned. He said, "Look, plane have landed in Uyo." So we call our lady captain. "Planes have landed in Uyo." He said, "Yes, but the weather is still not good enough." Well, with this explanation, I hope we are forgiven. You know, for what I heard from our friend and the General Secretary in his sermon, what he said about His Eminence relate Sunday Bank. All I will say is I concur, and then I will go and sit down. Some of you know him better than I do. If there is any Christian leader in Nigeria that I have come across, that I will say that what I know of him, when he dies, I will have no doubt that he will be in the kingdom of God. It will be Sunday bound. You know, not a man of emotion. You don't get emotion out of him. But you get Sunday bound. You get what he is and he was out of him. And I will just tell you my own experience. I was in prison. Some of you may not know that. I came out of prison and I was under pressure to contest the presidency in Nigeria. And when I agreed, I started going around. And one of the Christian leaders I went to was Sunday Bank in Lagos. It was the prelate and the president of Christian Association of Nigeria. It was in the morning, and I got there, and I greeted him, and I said, "Sir, I come to see you." He said, "What come to see me for?" As if we have been quarreling. So I said, "Well, you know, I just come out of prison and I have been having this pressure to come." He said, "But you are a military man." Oh, I said, "Yes, I was." He said, "As far as I'm concerned, you are still a military man, and I won't vote for you." I was short of words. I said, "Sir, well, you are a leader of one of the important denominations in Nigeria, and courtesy demand that I should come to you." He said, "Well, you may come to me 10 times, I will not vote for you." So I thanked him and left, because I don't know what else I could do or I could say. Well, he told me that actually he did not vote for me. I don't know whether he voted at all, but he did not vote for me. I became president. He still remained the prelate and the president of Christian Association of Nigeria. And of necessity, we had to work together of necessity. So, late Sunday Bank came to me and said, look, this economical center that have been on for almost 50 years, get us money to complete it and finish with it. My inner feel was to say, but you didn't vote for me, why? But I somewhat restrained myself and I said, sir, I will not drop money for the completion of a Christian building. Because if I do that for Christians, I will have to do it for Muslims. I will have to do it for Babalawo. I will have to do it for Shango worshippers. So, I will not. He said, then what will you do? I said, I will lead fundraising for the completion of the economical center, which I did. And we raised enough money to complete, to make it unique. It would be a good thing if you could have a revolving altar. And I said, how much will that cost? They mentioned some money, which could be accommodated in the money we have raised. And that economical center, now called National Christian Center, is the only church in Nigeria that I know with revolving altar. But that's not all. Late, Bank and I then became the best of friends. We became very, very close. And when I say very close, he will advise me, he will seek my opinion, and I found him such a great man, such a unique human being, such an unbelievable beauty that, and such nationalistic Nigerian, that is very important. That on every that I needed any piece of advice or to consult, when Governor Emmanuel Udom was around, I would pretend as if I was coming to see Governor Udom, which I would see in any way, but really it is to seek opinion and view and advice from the late Bank. May his soul rest in peace.